Having made well over 6 figures in my second year as a realtor here in Toronto, I can attribute a big part of my success to the books that I read.
Here in my garage, just bought this new Lamborghini here.
So in this video, I'm going to walk you through some of my favorite books to read as a realtor. Now, if you're not a realtor, if you're in sales, if you're in any profession, quite frankly, these books will have tremendous value. But I picked these books specifically because I'm a realtor and I think these are the ones that I found that have had the most value. Now, I'm not gonna tell you to read the basics like Millionaire Real Estate Agent or Think and Grow Rich or Never Split the Difference. It's like mandatory. You have to read those books. But in this video, I'm going to talk to you about some unorthodox books, let's say. But yeah, you should definitely get started with the basics. Now, the first book that you should read is Contrast by Yichi Zhang, a photography book that I made while traveling across the world in 2019. No, I'm just kidding. But would make a hell of a book for your listings. You know, you prop this up, property prices go up. I'm just kidding. Now, the first real recommendation is Busting Loose from the Money Game. This book is super interesting because, you know, I set a financial goal in my first year as a realtor. I achieved it. I was happy for I was gonna say 15 minutes, but like 15 seconds. And then my second year I set a financial goal and I achieved it. And then I was like, okay, great, I achieved it. I was happy for like 15 seconds. Am I just gonna keep doing this until I die? Like, they keep printing more money. Money is worthless, meaningless. Am I just gonna chase this carrot on a stick for the rest of my life? There's no way. And that's what this book talks about. It is a game that you cannot win. If you keep setting financial goals, you're never gonna win in life, right? And I'm not gonna tell you, I'm not gonna spoil the book for you, but one cool tip that I will share from the book is, when you, as a realtor, you have a lot of expenses, right? And sometimes it can be like, shit, I look at all this gas expenses, meals, clothes, I got parking tickets or whatever, and it's anxiety inducing. It creates a lot of lack as realtors, right? So what this book tells you to do, and this isn't the main meat of it, but this is let's say an appetizer. One strategy is look at those receipts. You want to look at the stuff you paid for because your hard-earned money was able to create that experience. So whether it was paying for gas, you want to bless that experience and be like, hey, thankfully, I know gas is expensive, but thankfully I was able to afford a full tank of gas, which allowed me to drive to my showings, drive to my appointments, and make money. So you bless your expenses, and that puts you in a state of abundance instead of a state of lack. Highly recommend this book. Second book is Speak to Sell by Dan Kennedy. This book convinced me that books have magical powers. Recommended to me by Owen Cook and a bunch of others. Dan Kennedy is the GOAT in marketing. And basically this book was basically saying, be yourself. You're not gonna please everybody, so just be yourself. And after I read this book, I made a YouTube video and it went viral. It's got 10,000 views. And when I first started YouTube, I was getting 10, 100 views. Some of my videos are still getting that many views, but I made that video and I was genuine. I was made jokes about crackheads or whatever, and Olivia Chow, whatever. And that's what this book tells you about. It's hey, don't be afraid to sell. Don't be afraid to be yourself. And I read this book, made a video, got 10,000 views on YouTube, generated a lot of leads too. And I can only have this book to thank. So thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Another book is the Bhagavad Gita. Now, this one is super interesting, and the main takeaway that I will take from this book is that you work without any attachment to the result. I know as realtors, we're doing showings and we're like, oh man, you better buy this house, or you better sell at this price or whatever. And that, I lived that way for a while in the first year and even the second year, and sometimes I still struggle with it a little bit. But we get it as realtors, right? We don't get paid unless the deal gets done. So at times it can feel like you're putting pressure on your clients to get the deal done. But what the wisdom of this book tells you is that you're never going to be happy if that's the case, right? If you get a deal done, you're going to want more. If if you don't get a deal done, you're going to be pissed. And that's how I lived for the first 2 years as a realtor. So work without any anticipation of the outcome, and that's how you will find happiness. Another book is The Greatest Salesman in the World, a very small book. It's got 12 scrolls. I read this every day, and it tells you like, hey, just read one scroll a day. And I read this every day for a very long time when I first started as a realtor. So I would read the first scroll 30 times, 30 days in a row. Then I would go to the second, then I would go to the third. And it's a great way to basically build the reps, build the routine, get the subconscious flowing, and some great ideas in here. So don't skip out on this one. Highly recommend. This book here, Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. Look at that pine cone and that crown and the snakes ascending up your spine. If you know, you know, right? This book is, honestly, this is probably the book that I would recommend for anybody. Genius stuff. I think in the next few decades, this will be very mainstream. The information in here, I think most people will understand. I'm just starting to understand. If I can understand, then pretty much anyone can understand, right? I think we're gonna have a great awakening. And you know, it's interesting. The concepts talked about and referred to in this book are in the Bible. They're in the Tao Te Ching. Heck, they're even in the Bhagavad Gita. These are books written thousands of years ago, and Joe Dispenza brings a science-backed aspect to all of this. And genius. Look at these tabs I have. I've read this like 4 or 5 times. Genius. This one is an interesting one. I thought about maybe not doing it and not showing you guys because it is very controversial, but I don't care. It genuinely is one of the books that made me who I am today, made me into a great salesperson, and that book is Rules of the Game by Neil Strauss. Now, mostly for the guys here, but essentially it's an action-based book, 30 days a day, a challenge per day. And the first day was like, make small talk with 5 random strangers, okay? Second day was like, you know, cold call random people and ask for a movie recommendation. And I remember when I was doing it, I wasn't as, you know, confident as I am now, but I remember doing it, and this was way before I was a realtor. This was like 5 years ago, so I had no idea that I would become a realtor one day. Hey buddy, 2020, or like, you know, 25-year-old me, you're gonna be a realtor. So, hey, great shit. So anyways, second day, I was cold calling people, asking for movie recommendations, and I was like so nervous. And that's what we do now, right? That's literally what we do. We just call people, hey, want a house, want to sell, want to buy, right? It's the same thing. And then it gets more extreme. It's more like pickup stuff with girls. But then it's like day 13 was like, go to a mall and ask random girls for clothing store recommendations. And I remember in Rideau Mall in Ottawa, I think the challenge was you had to ask 3 people, and it took me like 3 hours to do. Today I would do it in 3 seconds, but at the time I was just so nervous, and action kills fear, right? So yeah, that was this book. Day 30 was like host a huge party. And yeah, this is sales in a nutshell, right? Everything is sales, everything is negotiation, everything is persuasion. And this book, super helpful. Bit of a controversial topic, but whatever. Yeah, so those are the main books that I have to recommend. And then it's like, yo, I know we're like realtors, we're not launching rockets into space, but there are levels to this game. There are some people doing crazy shit in the real estate game. There are levels to this game. So why read basic stuff when you could read Genghis Khan, when you could read Leonardo da Vinci, when you can read Napoleon, when you can read Einstein, Tesla, Jobs, you could read Elon Musk, right? Like, those are the types of books that I like to read because, yes, like I said, being a realtor is, I mean, at the end of the day, we're not doctors, we're not doing anything crazy, but at the same time, it is really important to think about how the great figures in humanity have thought. You know, it elevates the thoughts that come into your head. It's, you know, it's definitely given me different ideas. It's given me the confidence. And then, I forget who said this quote, but it's like, once you read history, you realize the greats in history are no better than you or I, right? They're human at the end of the day. So I highly recommend reading those books. Those are all the books that I have for this video. Maybe in a couple years I will do this again as I continue reading more books. But if you guys have any recommendations for books, let me know, comments in the description. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.